You're in a quiet bathroom stall, late at night. It's empty except for you. Then suddenly you hear a voice coming from behind the other stalls. It's raspy, ancient, like it hasn't spoken in decades. It says, "Do you want red paper or blue paper?" It's close now. And when you finally get a peek over the top of the partition, all you see is an endless black void staring back at you. Whoever's there doesn't seem to be in any particular rush. They wait patiently as you choose. But whichever option you pick, you know you won't be leaving the bathroom alive. If you clicked on this video because you saw it trending on TikTok, then you probably already know that story. If you didn't, well, now you do. That's Aka Manto, one of Japan's most famous modern ghost stories, and the country's very own Jeff the Killer, but way scarier than you think. So let's talk about why. First things first, we need to cover the basics of the legend, because while the whole Jeff the Killer concept might be similar, Aka Manto is more of a yurei, a vengeful spirit who uses a living body as a vessel and forces them to reenact their murder. Except unlike Jeff, who mostly just kills people for fun, Aka Manto has a reason. He wants revenge against those responsible for his death, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. It all starts with that fateful encounter in the bathroom. Once you hear the question, red paper or blue paper, you have to answer before you see him. The consequences depend on your choice. Red means you'll be skinned alive. Blue means you'll be strangled until you turn blue. But either way, your time is up because no matter what you say, whether you choose either option or none, he's gonna find you, drag you into his world, and kill you exactly how he did in life. But why would anyone willingly take part in that? Well, some say it's easy to feel invincible when faced with a supernatural being. That fear makes us reckless and anything seems worth the risk, even if it means certain death. After all, what's the worst that could happen? But that's not the case here. In fact, every ending is worse than the last. And once you make your choice, there's no turning back. The origins of this story are tough to pin down since it was never published anywhere. Instead, it's one of those creepypastas that spread like wildfire through the internet, specifically on 2chan, a Japanese message board. And according to one of the earliest threads, it started as a rumor in school bathrooms back in the 1930s. At the time, kids would pass notes with scary stories written on them, and this one spread like wildfire. Legend has it that whoever wrote the original post went to the bathroom and answered, "I don't want either." But when they turned around, they were met with the bloodied face of a boy wearing a red cape. This happened to several people, but eventually the rumors died down until they reemerged again in the early 2000s, only this time with much more detail. Apparently, the cape was red and the boy looked to be around elementary school age. There was also another version that took place in a hotel where a woman stayed after losing her son. In this telling, she heard a knock at the door, and when she opened it, she saw a drenched boy in a red cape standing there holding 2 pieces of paper, red and blue. When she tried to send him away, though, he insisted that she accept the gift. And when she finally relented, he disappeared. She reached out to grab the papers and cut herself badly. We can trace these stories back to the 1930s too, but at the time there wasn't a name for the killer, just a few details. Over the years, those details changed. In one version, the boy wears a red cape. In another, he's bald with a monkey tail. But regardless of his appearance, he always gives you a choice, red or blue, which sounds relatively harmless, at least compared to what happens next. As far as the name goes, Aka Manto isn't just his title. It's actually his real name, although he sometimes introduces himself as such. Legend has it that he chose that name because he liked blood and guts. And sure enough, that's exactly what you see when he murders his victims. In fact, the boy won't rest until he finds someone worthy. That means someone willing to give him a good fight. Someone who will bleed as much as they possibly can without giving up. And the only way to prove yourself worthy is by surviving the choice. Both options are traps. If you choose one, he'll kill you in the stall. If you refuse, he'll hunt you down when you leave. Some say the only way to escape is by ignoring him completely, but that's easier said than done. After all, how could you resist the temptation of knowing your fate? Even if you do manage to ignore the voice, though, he won't let you go. That's why some believe the best course of action is to give an answer, one that provokes him to end your life quickly instead of prolonging it. In this telling, saying blue is the best choice because he gets angry when you reject his first offer. So he strangles you faster? Still not recommended, but at least it's over quicker. As for why it's always a bathroom, well, that's because of the setting. Japanese folklore is full of yurei bound to toilets, especially public ones. They're seen as liminal spaces between the living world and the spirit realm, places where the veil between them is at its thinnest. A lot of yukai are drawn to them because it's easier to cross over. And this is especially true for children who died tragically or have unfinished business in the world of the living. What's more, bathrooms are hidden, tucked away from the rest of the house or building, which makes them a great spot for a ghost to hide. They're also often associated with secrets, confessions, and new beginnings, all of which might attract a lonely spirit looking for companionship. In fact, there are so many ghostly bathroom legends in Japan that entire survival guides have been made. They detail everything from the most common types of ghosts you might encounter to the proper etiquette for dealing with them. That way, you can avoid an untimely demise. And I know you're probably wondering, great, so what about the blue paper? Well, that's something of an enigma. No one really knows what it means. Some say the color represents sadness or loneliness, others that it symbolizes the sky or the ocean. It could also refer to the victim's skin tone, which turns blue when they're strangled. But the truth is, no one knows for sure. We can't even be certain that blue was ever an option, since it's not mentioned in the earliest tellings of the story. That detail came much later, alongside many others. The more people tell the story, the more details they add, which is part of what makes it so popular. Like all good horror stories, there are lots of ways to play with it. Since it's not written down anywhere, people are free to share their own experiences and interpretations. That's led to a number of theories about the boy in the red cape. Some say he's just a child who likes to scare people, but others believe he's the ghost of a bullied kid who died under mysterious circumstances. Either way, he seeks revenge on anyone he meets in the bathroom, but the specifics vary depending on who's telling the tale. In fact, Aka Manto has appeared in so many different forms of media over the years that you might recognize him already. There's an episode of the Japanese horror anthology series, a whole manga dedicated to his story, and even an urban exploration video where a group of friends go into an abandoned school to find him. To date, he's one of the most famous creepypastas in Japanese history. Not only does he have his own wiki page, but he's also been featured in multiple games and anime series. He even inspired a new type of curse man, one that haunts college students and offers them a choice between red and blue pens. And if you refuse, it'll come for you when you least expect it. So if that's not proof that he's terrifying, I don't know what is. As for modern sightings, rumors persist to this day that he haunts the bathrooms of busy train stations and subway lines, especially in Tokyo. And if you ask any Japanese person, they'll tell you to stay far away from the bathrooms after midnight. Some say he also posts on creepypasta forums, sharing his own stories to lure unsuspecting readers into his world. That's how he found me. I should have known better than to answer his call, but here we are. Now I'm doomed to wander the spirit world with him, forced to relive my greatest fears over and over again. That's what happens when you make a deal with the devil, but you didn't have to listen. So tell me, would you stay silent if Aka Manto whispered to you tonight? Or would you answer? let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.